My name is Frank Kojo. What if I told you I stand on good authority to tell you exactly what's going to happen next in this world of ours? In order to tell you everything, I'm going to show you something. What if I also told you that using facts, that pictures or a picture can speak louder than any words? What if I told you that using 3 pictures painted almost 200 years ago, commissioned for a particular purpose? What if I told you that I can show you the first blueprint of the wealthy? What if I told you these 3 pictures will tell you of the past, the present, and what is to come, the future? What if I told you you will recognize everything that's happening today in the first 2 pictures, but the 3rd picture will show you the ultimate plan by the wealthy? But I want you to understand, this is a matter of law, because the wealthy have planned something and they are using the law to contract what they have planned. If you're not aware of the plan and the plan goes through, yet it is legal, then the onus, this is the most widely used legal term that anyone will ever have to get used to. The onus is and was and will always be on you to discover that which has been plotted against you and act accordingly within the confines of the law to correct it. So, without further ado, these 3 pictures were commissioned by a conglomerate of European leaders who at the time were involved in slave trade. The organization that actually commissioned this particular set of paintings in today's world currently is actually the most unheard of organization ever, but secretly and in actuality the richest organization. The richest organization through the back and the backs of slave trade and commodity stealing and other things. So now that I've opened a bigger picture for you to understand whose blueprints we're looking at. We're looking at the blueprint of the slave master, of the people who want to enslave humanity. Not blacks, not whites. It started from somewhere. But now you cannot sit here and say in the modern world that only black people are slaves. White people are slaves. When the law and when the confines of the law does not protect you, the rich do as they wish with you, and blacks and whites experience the same. So, without further ado, I'm gonna go into it. Picture number 1. As you can see in front of you, it is actually called the past. So there are 3 pictures: the past, the present, and the future. That's what they actually call these 3 pictures: the past, the present, and the future. So we are traveling to the past. In the past, this is what they know happened, and this is what they carried out. They enslaved black people. They stole wealth, tons of wealth from black people. They worked black people to work their own land, to bring that wealth up. And then they worked black people to transport the wealth, using black people as helpers to enslave black people. Along the way, they realized that their work wasn't fast enough. So they sought spiritual help. Remember, this is around the time that we're being colonized, or we've been colonized, and the Bible is heavily being introduced. But these same people introducing the Bible to Africans are collaborating with Indians. As you can see, to the left side of the picture is an Indian shaman or an Indian spiritualist. In the middle of the picture, the artist takes great care to make sure you understand, or he who or she who understands, to understand what's going on here. There's a lady in the middle, a very beautiful lady, pornographically stripped. If you look very carefully, you're going to realize that you may think it's the tiling, but it's not. The artist has made sure there's a clear division in the center of this woman. A clear division from the tip of her nose going all the way down the mid-rift of her body, separating or denoting that there's 2 sides to this woman. It is obvious, listen carefully, it is obvious that spiritually something great or something mad has been done with this woman. She is special. He displays that by holding her hair to show the quality of her hair. The woman herself is in awe, looking down at the only bit of her body that is shrouded and covered. But something has happened there. Something has happened there. This woman has been part of some sort of spiritual sacrifice. The funny thing is, there are other pictures before we get to these 3 pictures. And those pictures show you the process this woman was put through, which included live burial and sacrifices of other lives and other women to release their spirits into this one body. They are paintings that almost describe the sacrificial process that this woman has been put through. This woman, this living woman, she is for sale in exchange for wealth, gold, diamond. And as you can see on your right, you have the white man dressed in armor. He's a warrior. He's a king. He's shimmering in gold. From his side, on the right side, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. About 9 slaves, all black. 8 of them are pulling a mountain of gold. It's almost a house size. Almost the same size in length and in width, even more as the slaves themselves. But in weight, so heavy, you can see the strain. You can see the strain the slaves are going through, pulling it. When you look underneath the gold that's being pulled, you will see they're using logs. So as they pull, someone will pick up the log and take it to the front and replace it. It means there are more slaves being whipped to make sure this goes on. But the procession is they are pulling the gold and themselves towards the side of the Indian man. Whilst the Indian man is displaying his spiritual prize, the woman to the Westerner, who is further on top of the slaves and the big massive chunk of gold, is also offering, watch this, his sword, his golden sword, which has the biggest ruby, diamond encrusted in it. This woman is very special. Her hair is charmed. Take careful notice of that. Her hair is charmed because the Westerner went to find out what you would do and how you would try and take over someone's mind, someone's culture, someone's pride, in order to defeat them spiritually, physically, mentally, and take over them. And they were given a woman. Her hair was charmed, long, straight, and beautiful. That's what they paid for in the past. And how has that transpired? Today, Indian wigs. And what the black women do not understand is it is not just a human hair that's been cut and given to you. It's a human hair. And as you can see, this man, he went to a spiritualist and they paid. This is ancient debt. This is ancient debt. They paid from that day for Indians to make sure they produce hair. They take their own women's hair. They take it in the temples and bless it their way and put their intentions within it. And then they bring it to the black person for the black person to use to cover up her dignity and her beauty, killing her beauty and the essence of her beauty. Mental slavery. This was all in the blueprints from the beginning. This is what they did in the past. Now, we come to the present. The present. Today. In the present, you're going to see in the background, in the foreground, in the middle ground, you're going to see different speeches and different, let's say, languages and different speeches being spoken, but all in picture form. So we're going to slowly dissect the present because you need to see what you're seeing physically in front of you. was predicted, was written, was stuck in the blueprint almost 200 years ago or more. And thus, it cannot be a prediction. It is a plan. It is an exercise. So, in the front of the picture, we're going to start in the front of the picture. And then we're going to go to the back of the picture, and then to the middle of the picture, and then we conclude the whole picture. So, in the front of the picture, which is present, so what they foresaw, what they saw coming in the future back then, but how they were going to work with it and change it. So in the present, back then, they saw that something will happen. So in this picture, onto your left, you see a woman who looks like a red Indian. A red Indian, not an Asian Indian, a red Indian. She's holding a hammer like Thor, you know, the superhero. But then she's holding a pink rose. This is to symbolize motherhood, nurture, nature, peacefulness, calmness, and beauty, all exhuming from this one woman. At the same time, she's wearing a golden armor, protective armor, and holding a golden hammer. Not only is this woman everything that I told you she is also fierce, strong, a protector, a fighter, a warrior. In the middle, no, we'll come to the middle later. On the right is a man. It's clear to see the artist wants you to know it's a black man. He's strong, he's bulgy, he is massive, and he's not wearing any protective gear, but he's holding a hammer as if his muscles were enough to protect him from anything, as if he is the Hulk, as if his skin, his body is impenetrable. You can tell he's a specimen of a man. Again, although the artist gives you the clear depiction that this is a black man with the haircut, with the hairstyle, with the skin color, the artist also wants to give you the impression again that this is a golden colored man. But you see, gold stands for purity. So we're talking about pure people here. We're talking about pure people here. Pure in mind, pure in spirit, pure in heart, pure in actions, pure in everything they do and say and act. He is also a warrior. He stands there patiently, calm. Now, let's go behind these two. So we're going to go back to the woman again. Behind the woman is a big wheel, what looks like a big Ferris wheel. This big Ferris wheel has what you will call a cam belt, and that cam belt is attached to a smaller wheel. which is then placed upon a slightly larger than the smaller wheel. Again, this is made of gold. Behind the man on the right hand side is the same exact repetition. These two belts on the opposite side, or these two big wheels on the opposite side, are driving the two smaller wheels beneath them, which are then being used to drive the two medium-sized wheels on the ground. But what for? In the middle, on the table, you will see a clock. A clock. And it is right to assume that this clock, its mechanism, relies on these wheels turning on both sides. But what are they? What does each side represent? And what is the purpose of each side? But again, time is gold. Everything is gold. This is pure time. They are saying that they know in the future the real time is going to be revealed. But how? By whom? Okay. Now, behind this clock, so now understand that the two protectors, the man and the woman who's on the left and the man who's on the right, these two are stood outside of a premises. And they are protecting something. That thing is time. They are protecting something. That thing is time. They themselves do not have access to this time. If you look carefully, going from the table which holds the clock, you will see the artist tells you there is a glass. There is a glass, let's say a glass encasing, and it is behind the glass encasing which holds this clock. So they are on the outside to make sure that no one goes past them to reach the protected time. So that's the first layer, which is man and woman. Second layer, the wheel of time. Now we're on the third layer. There is a man. He is naked. Again, he is gold, symbolizing purity. Again. But the artist makes it clear that this is a black man. The artist makes it clear that this is a black man. If you study his face carefully, you're going to notice that the archway of this black man's eyebrows and forehead and nose, the artist blatantly wants you to see what's hidden within this man, and it is, you could call it, the flying phoenix, an eagle. And this is impressed into his face, detailed in, for those who know. Because this guy has eagle vision. Because to be where time is kept, and to be the only one who has access to time, something different has to be who you are. When you look carefully, the artist also wants you to realize that this man has a condition. You could say present condition is vitiligo. Vitiligo, where patches of his skin are different colors. But that is not the meaning, because vitiligo is not a condition. Vitiligo is not a condition. That's the truth. Vitiligo is actually nature telling you that we are one. That, listen, you're not black and you're not white. If you're displaying black, the white is inside. If you're displaying white, the black is inside. We're one. So this person on the racial front represents something good for both races. He has his left hand rested on the clock, his right hand on his lips, as if figuring out what to do. One can only make the assumption that you can change the time. He is the time changer. You can let the time stay as it is. But if you decided to change the time, should it go to the left or to the right? This is very significant. When we now go behind the time changer on a blue platform, now we are at the fourth stage, on the fourth platform. And what is there? Behind the woman on the left, behind the wheel, behind the man on the left hand side, you can see what looks like workmen. So this will represent the workforce, the taxpayers, the citizens. Remember, the woman represents peace, love, kindness, gentleness. And you will find all that in our citizens of the world. But you will also find within them warriors, fighters. When the time needs be, who stand up and fight. On the right hand side, behind the man, behind the wheel, behind the naked man, on the right hand side, you will see that unlike behind the woman, where the citizens look angry and tired, frustrated and unorganized, but heading one direction, to the left. On the right hand side, behind the strong, muscly, tough-faced men with, there's nothing to show that he has heart. There's everything to show that he's a man of work. He's a man of job. He's been told, this is what you need to protect, and under no circumstances is he going to let anyone stop him. Behind him is a fashion orderly of petticoat. Petticoat. Dressed gentleman. This, at the time, was the preferred dressing, and still is at the present, of the governance system, the politics system, the wealthy. So, a time has come. Time will change, or time has to change. But time will either go left or right. If it goes left, the wealthy lose. It goes to the many. If it goes right, the wealthy win. The few take it all. Behind that, on the fifth platform, is the waters. The waters. If you look behind the woman on the waters, the ship, you can tell its trajectory is to the right because the smoke is blowing behind it. Behind the man on your right, the ship, its trajectory, it's blowing to the right, meaning, the smoke is blowing to the right, meaning the ship's trajectory is heading to the left. This is a clash of ideals. This is a clash of faiths. This is a clash of beliefs. This is a clash of economic powers between the wealthy and the many. Where it's either the wealthy take it all and the many die, or the many reclaim what is theirs, share it accordingly, so everyone gets a piece. On the sixth platform, on the archway bridges, you can see the same thing. Industrialization. The chimneys are blowing. Behind the woman, to the left. Behind the man, to the right. It means, is industrialization either going to benefit only the rich and deprive the poor, or is industrialization going to be harnessed by nations for the embetterment of the many rather than the embetterment of the few? If it goes to the left where the woman is stood, the many will be saved. The many will enjoy freedom and justice. The many will enjoy a democratic living standard and human rights and everything. Job rights, wage rights, everything. But not as a unit, as individual units, based on cultural grounds, based on beliefs, based on this, based on freedom and justice, based on individualistic freedom. The many will be wealthy. But if in the present, as everything stands, the many allow the rich, who under all circumstances, lockdowns or no lockdowns, find ways to operate businesses to keep afloat. If the many allow these controlled measures to dominate and ruin their lives, eventually the wealthy will win. The many will find themselves enslaved under the wealthy. If you look carefully in the petticoats, the artist clearly makes you aware that majority of the petticoats are white. There are some blacks in there. He brings them forward so you can see that. You could say Judas. But this is not to say that I'm against unity between black and white people. I'm showing you the blueprints of the wealthy and rich and how they plan on stealing time and power from the many. I'm putting a spotlight on the present. So what happens if the poor, if the needy, if the weak? What happens if the vulnerable? What happens if this time changer joins the left? If this time changer's mind goes to the left, it means time has been bought for the many to straighten out their affairs and balance out the economical structure that's keeping them down. If this individual who understands time and the use of time decides to go to the right, it means the wealthy and the rich and the very few, the 1% of the world's population, will own the industrialization power of the world. Thus, they will hold on to our governments. It means we would have created semi-demigods on this earth. People who have the right to do as they will. As Jay-Z rightly pointed out, do as thou wishes. Because when you get to a certain level of wealth, even the police don't take reports with your name in it. And if this individual who understands time allows time to go to the right, then these two protectors have no choice but to keep the many out and do it for the very few. But if he chooses to go to the left and do it for the many, then he buys time for the many. What happens if the poor and the many lose? Picture number 3. The future. The future. This picture is biblical to one aspect, and I'll show you why. Because it gives you the story of the lady at the well. The story of the lady at the well. If you remember right, Jesus Christ tells her if she believes in him, even though he is asking her for water, that he will give her everlasting water. For someone who's asking for water, to be offering water, that's a bit strange, isn't it? But let's start from the foreground. On the left is an Indian woman, an Asian Indian woman, not a red Indian woman, an Asian Indian woman. The artist makes that clear through dress sense and the way she even carries the pot she's going to fetch the jug of water with. Again, this picture is trying to give an idea of purity by using gold everywhere in terms of on the people. Okay. This woman is on the left. In front of her, behind her, is a well with a drawstring. Behind that well, you can tell it's frolicking. Men and women gossiping, frolicking. As you see at rich people's parties. Sexual escapades spoken about by many famous people. You know, gangbangs. Gangbangs, sexual orgies. Whilst we're drinking and eating, all in the same area. But we are now free to do as we wish. Do as thou wishes. This woman is reaching out for the hand of a man. This man, again, dressed in robes, long hair. When you look carefully, the artist, again, when you look at the face of this man, gives you the impression, using where the eyes are again, to give you the impression with the nose bridge of a flying eagle. But this time round, this eagle is not so prominent. And there's a barrier. There's a barrier above it. Because what people do not understand, the lines on your forehead, they tell a lot about you. So this artist is using that because he is fully aware this is the installation of a lie. So in other words, it's like saying this one will be hard to swallow. This person has been given reverence and holiness through his garments. Through his garments. A halo encircles his head, where no one else in this picture has a halo. It denotes holiness. If you look carefully at the picture again, above the eagle's block, where the hairline divides on the forehead, you're going to see the difficulty the artist had in believing that people will believe the story. That this false installation has a sweat drop. And the artist clearly makes sure that's in there to show you how hard this installation is going to be for the very few to take over and enjoy a godly status and claim they are always in the presence of God. Now, you can tell that this holy man has just stepped in through the doors, because we are in a compartmental area. We are in a closed off area. We're in a room of some sort. And in a minute, I will show you what type of room we're in. Now, this holy man or supposed holy man has just come out, has just come inside. You can tell there's a door and his direction, his feet, he's walking forward. He's walking forward, coming from the door. In the doorway is a man. In the doorway is a man. I want you to pay careful attention to this man's footwear, clothes, head, and the hammer and the spade. And the fact that, again, although without a halo, he is still covered in pure gold. Holiness. His eyes are closed, as if he is disgusted by what he is seeing. He's packed up his tools. He's going to start a new life elsewhere. No one cares. If you look carefully, you're going to realize it's the black man. The warriors are dead. He's old now. He did change time. He changed time to the right. He gave it to the politicians and the wealthy. And it is only now he realizes what they were going to do. Look outside. Look outside. Look at the trees outside of this bomb shelter or this bunker, protective, safe bunker. You're going to see that all the trees are charred. All the trees have been burnt to crisp. Just like in the story in the Bible where Sodom and Gomorrah, this picture reflects a similar scene. Gossiping men, frolicking. Basically, things were getting out of hand. But this time round, it is not God doing it. It is the wealthy doing it. And simply claiming God did it. They are wiping out. So this is the future. Once they have changed time, and once they have owned time, and once they get grip of time, the plan is to start again. Amount wealth, and when no one has anything left, only those with money to pay will have anything to say. Everyone else becomes a slave. And all blacks and all whites who know the truth yet join. Eventually, there will be too many of them. They will be too powerful. And there's nothing you can do but walk out into the wilderness and die. The past. What they did. The present. What they are doing. The future. How they wish to see it. How do you wish for the future to go for mankind? If your mind does not reflect the mind of the elite, then you have to understand that there is a silent war to enslave you. to control you. And the onus, the legal onus, is on you to stand up and deflect and appeal.
It's 1 o'clock.
And fight.
The date today is the 4th.
And gain
October
your freedom.
2020.
I stand on great authority.
Kweku and the queer.
Ask me how I know this.
Advocates.
It's not by accident.
Advocates.
It's upon authority. There are further numerical data and facts, very strange facts, attached to everything I'm telling you. I don't want to make this particular one long. I just want to give you something to think about. What do I want you to think about? There's a blueprint. It's clear to see it has been actioned from ancient times. The scope is to control the many by the very few. They've amounted enough wealth. You see this company that these three paintings belong to. The company belonged to the Kingdom of Holland, England, Spain, and a few other nations. Nations who sought to at first enslave the Irish. This is why I'm telling you, it is not about black and white. It is about picking on vulnerable people. White people did not start enslaving black people. That was not the first time they enslaved. They actually started enslaving their own kind. And then when they decided they were going to enslave the black kind, they needed support from their own kind. So then they stopped enslaving their own kind. But they didn't give their own kind full rights. That's why the English still look down on the Irish. That's why the English still look down on the Irish. Because they only had to make a peace treaty. Because they say, my enemy's enemy is my friend. At the time, the black people would not have seen the Irish as their friends. Because Ireland itself and the Irish people themselves, centuries before, exterminated black people. That's what St. Paddy did. Ireland originally belonged to West African black people. He exterminated them. And that's how Ireland became white-owned. There's evidence that the land of England itself was settled by the same people from West Africa. And there's evidence to show extermination. Brutal extermination. When you look at the island of Tasmania, today you may think, or one day you may think, oh, that white country. But it was never a white country. It was the purest of the purest black country. Today you look at Australia and black people can find it hard to go there. And they will say, oh, that white country, Australia. But Australia is not a white country. It was the purest of the purest black country. It was untouched black country. The war is no longer between black and white. The war is between the elite who are trying to own the political system and the poor who do not know how to control their own political system. But the time can change, and the time has to change for the greater good of the many. Like I said, I stand on good authority to give you this information. Thank you very much for listening. There will be more to come very soon. My name is Kojo.